a city of blinding light and endless shadow. The higher the towers reach, the more they obscure the lives lived beneath them. They said it was the future, a shining beacon of progress. But the deeper you looked, the darker the truth became. Obrov, Hong Kong coffin homes. Life measured in inches, located beneath the glittering neon skyline of one of the richest financial hubs in the world. Hong Kong hides a silent, claustrophobic nightmare. As real estate, prices soar into astronomical numbers. Hundreds of thousands of underprivileged residents are pushed into the city's infamous coffin homes and cage cubicles. Inside aging tenement buildings across Sham Shui Po and Quarry Bay, standard apartments are ruthlessly divided with cheap plywood into dozens of micro boxes, some measuring barely 15 square feet. Here, the boundaries between basic human functions are erased completely. A person sleeps with their knees bent against a wall, their head inches away from a single hot plate, while shared communal toilets leak just feet away. The air in these windowless corridors is suffocatingly stale, saturated with a smell of old grease, damp mold, and human sweat that never evaporates. To live in a coffin home is to accept that personal dignity and privacy are luxuries, reserved only for the elite, while you are slowly compressed into a concrete drawer, longing for a glimpse of an open sky. Dharavi, Mumbai, India, the suffocating labyrinth. Sprawling right in the pulsing heart of Mumbai, Dharavi is not just a slum. It is an overwhelming, dense labyrinth of human endurance. Over 1 million people are packed into an area barely larger than half a square mile, making it one of the most densely populated patches of land on the globe. Inside Dharavi's interior alleyways, sunlight never reaches the ground. Paths are so narrow that two people cannot walk shoulder to shoulder without brushing against raw corrugated tin walls or open chemical gutters. Thousands of unregulated micro workshops operate day and night, recycling toxic plastics, tanning animal hides with harsh acid, and melting down scrap metal in windowless rooms with zero ventilation. With only one toilet for every 1,000 residents in some sectors, the stench of human waste mixed with industrial fumes forms a permanent haze. Children grow up playing beside open blackwater ditches, breathing air filled with fine particulate matter, trapped inside a relentless urban machine that never stops grinding. Makoko, Lagos, Nigeria. The floating blackwater slum, rising on rickety stilts over the pitch-black coastal waters of the Lagos Lagoon. Makoko is an ecosystem of pure desperation. From above, thousands of rusty tin shacks look like a battered wooden fleet swallowed by a dark, stagnant ocean. The water beneath Makoko is no longer water. It is a thick, viscous slurry of industrial runoff, household refuse, discarded plastics, and raw human waste, flowing directly from overwater latrines. A foul, suffocating vapor hangs heavy in the humid tropical heat, sticking to the skin of everyone who dares enter. There are no roads, no clean municipal water pipelines, and no official electrical grid. Life here is entirely aquatic, carried out on narrow wooden canoes. The most haunting reality is seeing toddlers, barely old enough to walk, paddling themselves through toxic black currents, growing up in an environment where malaria, typhoid, and cholera lurk in every single drop of water beneath their wooden floors. Manshiyat, Nasser, Cairo, Egypt, the high-rise garbage city. At the foot of the Mokattam Hills on the outskirts of Cairo lies Manshiyat, Nasser, a solid brick metropolis where nearly 1 million people live, sleep, and breathe entirely encased in the capital city's urban waste. Unlike typical landfills, here the garbage is brought straight into multi-story residential apartment buildings. For generations, the Zabaleen community has collected, hauled, and sorted Cairo's daily refuse manually. In these dense, unpaved brick canyons, the ground floors of family homes are piled 10 feet high, with sorted plastic bottles and rotting food scraps. The second floor is often house livestock that feed on organic matter, while families sleep on the upper levels. The air is permanently choked with the sweet, sickening odor of decomposition, clouds of flies, and fine toxic dust kicked up by hundreds of hauling trucks. It is an urban ecosystem where human life and rotting metropolis waste have fused into an inseparable, everyday reality. 5. Skid Row, Los Angeles, USA. The capital of discarded souls, located literally blocks away from the shining billion-dollar skyscrapers of downtown Los Angeles, Skid Row stands as a staggering indictment of the modern metropolis. Spanning 50 square blocks, it represents the most concentrated epicenter of chronic homelessness in the Western world. Sidewalks are completely swallowed by an endless maze of battered tents, blue tarps, shopping carts, and cardboard shelters. The pavement is littered with used syringes, broken glass, and biological waste, radiating a sharp smell of human misery under the California sun. Skid Row resembles an active open-air trauma ward. Open drug dealing, the relentless grip of synthetic opioids like fentanyl, untreated psychiatric crises, and outbreaks of medieval diseases like tuberculosis occur under the continuous wail of ambulance sirens. The grotesque juxtaposition between extreme corporate wealth and utter human abandonment turns Skid Row into an open, bleeding wound right in the heart of the American dream. 6. Kibera, Nairobi, Kenya, the mud grid of forgotten millions. Just a few miles from Nairobi's bustling corporate center sits Kibera, the largest urban slum in Africa. Built on uneven red clay hills, hundreds of thousands of people live crammed inside single-room shacks patched together with mud, timber, and rusting iron sheets. Infrastructure in Kibera is practically non-existent. When the tropical rains pour down, unpaved walkways transform into rushing rivers of mud mixed with raw sewage from open trenches. Because access to official sanitation is so scarce, residents are often forced to use flying toilets, plastic bags discarded into alleys and onto rooftops under the cover of night. Tangled webs of illegally spliced electrical wires hang precariously low over puddle-filled alleys, posing a deadly electrocution hazard daily. Yet, amidst the deep poverty and crushing lack of basic human rights, entire generations are born, struggle, and grow old in a mud labyrinth completely bypassed by modern civilization. 7. Torre de David, Caracas, Venezuela. The anarchic vertical slum, conceived in the 1990s as a triumphant symbol of Venezuelan financial power. The 45-story Centro Financiero, con finanzas, known as the Torre de David, became a bizarre dystopian monument to economic collapse. Following the death of its developer and the nation's banking crisis, construction froze. The unfinished hollow concrete shell was eventually invaded by over 3,000 squatters, transforming a corporate tower into the tallest vertical slum on Earth. With 0 elevators installed, families on the upper floors had to hike 40 flights of steep, unrailed concrete steps every day just to reach their beds. Windows had no glass, hallways had no protective barriers, and crude, pirate electrical wires snaked dangerously through unsealed elevator shafts. A single misstep in the dark meant falling hundreds of feet to instant death. It remains one of the most surreal testaments to urban survival within the skeleton of failed capitalism. 8. La Rinconada, Peru. The lawless glacial hell. Perched at over 17,000 feet in the Peruvian Andes, La Rinconada is the highest permanent human settlement on the planet, and easily one of its most brutal urban nightmares. Drawn by the promise of unregulated gold mining, over 50,000 people live in an anarchic shantytown built on permanent permafrost. The town has no running water, no sewage systems, no heating, and no municipal waste disposal. Human waste, chemical runoffs, and mountain trash freeze solid into the ground. Only to thaw into a foul, toxic mud during warmer afternoons. The air is thin, freezing, and poisoned by mercury fumes from crude, gold-smelting operations inside residential homes. Without any active police, force, violence, and lawlessness are rampant. It is an urban outpost stripped of all comfort, where human beings risk their lungs and lives daily in a freezing purgatory of rock and toxic sludge. 9. Complexo do Alemão, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. The vertical war zone, rising steeply over the hills of northern Rio de Janeiro, the Complexo do Alemão favela network is a dense, red-brick urban jungle where everyday life unfolds. Under the constant crossfire of war, thousands of unauthorized, multi-level brick structures cling to the cliffs, with narrow, winding alleys cutting through like deep ravines. Here, the legitimate state presence has long broken down, replaced by heavily armed drug cartels patrolling with high-caliber rifles. Residents live in permanent terror. Armored police vehicles, police helicopters, firing down from the clouds, and intense gun battles can break out without a moment's notice. Concrete walls of ordinary family homes and schoolrooms are scarred with thousands of bullet holes. In this vertical city, walking home from work or sending a child to school is a calculated gamble with mortality, where stray bullets claim innocent lives in the blink of an eye. 10. Ghazipur Landfill, New Delhi, India. The smoldering mountain of methane. On the outskirts of New Delhi, the Ghazipur landfill has long surpassed its intended capacity to become a horrifying geographical landmark, a colossal mountain of garbage rising over 200 feet into the sky. This colossal mound of decaying metropolis waste generates immense underground pockets of combustible methane gas. In the blistering heat of the Indian summer, the mountain spontaneously combusts, turning Ghazipur into an active trash volcano spewing toxic clouds of dioxins and carcinogens directly into neighboring slums. Right at the crumbling base of this mountain, thousands of desperately poor waste pickers live in makeshift tarp shacks. Every morning, men, women, and children scale steep, unstable trash cliffs that could collapse under their feet at any second. They breathe burning, acrid smoke, drink contaminated groundwater, and live in constant dread of sudden trash slides burying their entire community alive. It is a monument of waste and the ultimate endpoint of runaway urban consumption. Outro. We live in an era that prides itself on artificial intelligence, hyper-connected, digital economies, and skyscrapers that dare to scrape the sky. But these 10 places stand as a devastating blow to human hubris. They remind us that beneath the glossy veneer of modern megacities lies a shattered reality where the social contract has fundamentally disintegrated. The city was originally envisioned as a sanctuary, a place designed to connect, shelter, and elevate human life. But in these urban hellscapes, it has turned into a predatory machine, grinding down the hopes, health, and dignity of the most vulnerable among us. Whether it is sleeping in a wooden cage in Hong Kong, paddling across the toxic, black sludge of Makoko, or walking through the crossfire of Rio's favelas, millions of human beings are forced to endure an existence stripped of the most basic elements of human decency. They are paying the ultimate price for broken governance, unchecked urbanization, and societal indifference. Without compassion in policy and social structures that actually protect human beings, urbanization is nothing more than modern exile into concrete and mud. Hopefully, these haunting realities will stay with you long after the video ends, serving as a solemn reminder of the vast, fragile divide between civilization and survival. Thank you for watching. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to explore more eye-opening documentaries with us. Until next time, take care.